Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to take a look at All Out Slowbro. This is a new single prize archetype that has obviously been popping up, and well, it looks a pretty fun one. And well, given all the single prize archetypes I keep running into, that's why today's video is not Iona's Mega Zero Aura, unfortunately. So of course, as per normal, in the description below there's going to be usual links, double the deck list, which is also available to cover in the description below. There's the games that I'll play, and of course the outro, what I think of the deck. So this is actually one of the promos in the Build and Battle set, which we will be doing a video on the Build and Battle set at some point. But of course, the All Out Slowbro is, if you have no cards in your hand, this attack does 160 more damage. So in other words, that's KOing a Fez, that's KOing Latias, you know, that sort of thing. And when you chuck down a Lillie's Clefairy to deal with the likes of, you know, Lucario, Dragapult, Raging Bolt and stuff like that, you're hitting 420 damage. Now, the second attack, Zen Headbutt, I have actually leaned into slightly. I'm playing 2 Ignition Energy. This is only because there's not always going to be a time where you're going to be able to attack with All Out. So it just makes sense to me to play a copy of, or a couple of copies of Ignition. You know, the attack is there. I don't really see a reason why we wouldn't. But obviously, we are going to be playing a few damage mods. We are going to be playing, you know, a decent count of Gust, you know, that sort of thing. And, well, it's a cool little archetype. We also get access to a very funny Slowpoke with the best attack name I can think of, which is All You Can Yeet, because we do love a yeet, that's for sure. And you may discard any number of cards from your hand. So even if we're going second, and we can, you know, thin the hand down a little bit, we could use All You Can Yeet and just, you know, just get rid of some cards. Because then that plays into All Out, so we might as well. Obviously, we are using the Festival lead engine. We do have the Swirlix in here to enable us to use Boom Boom Groove. This is mainly to find things like Ultra Balls. Obviously, Swirlix is not, you know, really going to be attacking in this deck. We can't really use, like, we can use Sneaky Placement, but I don't think we're going to. But Sneaky Placement isn't why we're in the deck. It's purely because of the Festival lead ability. It's a basic Pokemon, so we can find it with, you know, the Telepathic Psychic Energy. And to me, it just makes sense, you know. We might as well play a Psychic type that can, you know, help us out. And obviously, like I said, we do have the usual Shaymin and a Psyduck, like a typical Festival lead deck. And we have 2 copies of Clefairy to enable us to hit dragons for weakness. And of course, you know, if push comes to shove, we can attack with this card, but it will take 2 manual attachments. But honestly, it's a pretty interesting archetype, and I'm looking forward to giving it a try. So, let's go to the deck list, and let's have a proper look. And welcome to the deck list. This is a really interesting little archetype, and I must admit it's something that I was looking forward to playing. Originally, I was going to chuck this in a planned new series which will be coming on the channel soon, but this has a little bit more potential than what that series has. You know, this has a little bit more in terms of, you know, ability to do stuff. And that's sort of why I've decided to chuck it, you know, as a regular video and not part of this series that I'm planning. But I won't reveal too much on that. If you're in the Discord server, you already know. So, of course, we're playing 4 Slowpoke, 4 Slowbro, 3 Grookey, 3 Thwackey, 3 Swirlix, 2 Lillies, Clefairy, 1 Shaymin, and 1 Psyduck. You'll notice there is basically no draw in here because, well, that's the point of the deck. We don't want to have a big hand size. Then, of course, we have 4 Hilda, 3 Boss, 1 Cassiopeia. I hope I'm not butchering that. We could use this card only when it's the last card in your hand. You can search your deck for up to 2 cards, put them to your hand, and shuffle the deck. Really underrated supporter. Sadly rotates soon, so I'm quite sad about that. Because it is an interesting little card. Then, of course, we have 1 Lana and 1 of the new Gladion's Final Battle. This is a really good supporter. We can only play this as this is the only card in our hand. And essentially, our Pokemon that don't have a rule box do 80 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Pretty nice. Lets us hit 290. And, you know, it's just nice to have. And it also lets the Zen Headbutt attack do 190 if we need to use that. So that's another good thing. Then, of course, we have 4 Buddy, 4 Ultra, 3 Poké Pad, 2 Night Stretcher, 1 Prime Catcher as our A-Spec, 1 Sacred Ash, 3 Air Balloon, 3 Academy at Night, which further plays into the strategy of the deck, 4 Telepathic, 2 Psychic, and 2 Ignition. A lot of the lists I saw, like, when I was building this deck list, was not playing Ignition Energy to, like, have the option of Zen Headbutt. Because obviously, like I said, there's not always going to be a time when you're always attacking with All Out. You know, you're not always going to have that ability. Especially things like Bidoof, which, yeah, you can still knock out a Bidoof with the All Out attack for 50, but that's not the point, you know. Having the option of a 110 attack does line up pretty okay if, you know, you are whiffing on something. So having a 110 plus 210 swing, or potentially 190 plus, you know, 210 swing, that's pretty good to have, and it is something. Now, in terms of what I would change in this deck list, there isn't a huge amount. I would want a 4th Air Balloon, I would say, just to have, you know, that option of just an extra switch out, because obviously these are mainly going to be on the Swirlix and the Thwackies. Because obviously if we do lose a Slowbro to a knockout, we're going to want to promote a Swirlix, so that way we can take use of the Boom and Groove. Other than that, really, there's not a huge amount I would want in this deck list. You know, maybe a couple more damage mods. Some Brave Bangles would not be a bad idea in here, but again, it's just, you know, making the space for them. Because obviously we want to have, you know, still some recovery, but obviously we want to keep our hand size low in order to use All Out. So obviously we need no cards in hand. We can't just have one card in hand. We have to have no cards in hand. So there is a few things to explore with this deck, and I think there is definitely room for this archetype to grow. But for now, I think this is a pretty good starting deck list. So let's go to some games and see how we do. Welcome to our first game. Like I said, today's video would have been Iono's Mega Zeraora, but unfortunately I ran into 3 single prize archetypes back to back. I ran into Alakazam, Festival Lead, and Delmai's Hide and Sneak. For some reason, single prize archetypes are everywhere right now. You know, I know the Toucanon is very splashable at the minute, but I wasn't expecting to see this many single prize archetypes. So I thought, well, I'm having trouble with them. Let's play a single prize archetype of our own. Okay, that's not a bad start, actually. That's not bad at all. It's just the energy count in hand is a little bit concerning, I will say. But obviously I can, you know, I can telepathic to the Swirlix, send some cards out, so that's fine. And it looks like we're up against a Festival Lead archetype. That's fine. So, I'm going to bench the Swirlix. See, this is a very awkward hand, but I can at least get a telepathic going. So I'm just going to grab 2 Slowpokes. So we've got 2 Thwackies in the prize cards, which is concerning. We've got no Slowbros in the prize cards because one of them's in hand. Buddy Poffin in the prize cards. We've got an Ultra Ball in the prize cards. Ignition's in there, so that's good. I can definitely thin this hand down next turn, though. As long as, you know, the top deck isn't too bad, I can thin the hand down. Because I can play down the Psyduck, I can evolve the Slowbro, I can attach Telepathic to the Slowbro, I can Academy at Night put the Psychic on top. I just need something I can actually play. They're for some reason putting down a Shaymin, which is interesting. There's Canary. Interesting. Yeah, that Zeraora is useless, mate. I'll tell you that right now. If this is Mega Manectric, this should be fine, I would say. Like, it should be okay, as long as we can chain Slowbros back to back. We've got an Iono's Killer Watchful engine as their draw power, so how are you getting energy on that is what I want to know. Like, yeah, you can use the eels and stuff, but outside of that, what else are you doing? I don't know. But we should be able to thin this hand down. It's just, it's going to be tricky to, you know, because we don't have any Grookeys established, it's going to be quite tricky to actually do anything. They're going to give me a Tynamo. That's fine. I can knock that out with a simple All Out. So that's fine. There's a Hilda. That's good to see to an extent. So I can Telepathic here. I can thin out another Slowpoke. It's just thinning this hand down any further. I don't think I can. In fact, I can play Hilda, just not take an energy. I can then Academy at Night put that on the top. So I can put down the Psyduck. I can then Hilda for another Slowbro. So we'll do that. Academy at Night. And then put the Psychic on the top. Retreat the Swirlix into the Slowbro. And All Out for 210. Nice. I'll take that. That's pretty good. We've not been able to establish any Grookeys, but that should be fine. Not having an Air Balloon down on Swirlix as well is quite a problem, but we'll get to that. The Sacred Ash, though, is a really bad prize card to draw here. Yeah, we could Academy at night because we know our top deck has a Psychic Energy, but I don't really want to be drawing into this. So that can be quite tricky. And yeah, he's just going to scoop it up. I would say I don't blame him, but yeah, I don't really have any words there. Like, we was able to thin the hand down, but we didn't have to, you know, thin the hand down. It's just, you know, it's good for me to learn the deck at the end of the day, because I've not really had much experience, like, testing this archetype. But so far, I mean, minus the fact that we didn't get any Grookeys down, or find any Thwackeys, I'll take it. Let's go to the next game. And welcome to game 2. That was a pretty good first game there. You know, it gives me a chance to learn the deck a little bit more. I've not got long to actually finish this video. I've got to be ready for work in about an hour, so I'm not going to be, like, editing this video now after I finish, but I'll do that after I get back from work. But problem is at the time of recording, I'm out all day Saturday, so may not be able to get videos out as quick, but still. Like I said, you would have had Iono's Belly Bolt with Zero Aura, but, you know, just not been finding them. Alright, Grookey starts. I'm not mad about that. Am I going second? I am. That's fine then. But it is Alakazam. And with this hand, I'm not going to be able to thin very well. Plus, this is probably unfavored anyway. I mean, yeah, we can obviously knock them out with Slowbro, but like they have a lot more focus on recovery than we do, and obviously they have a bit more of a consistent engine to keep their cards going. And I don't really want to put down this Clefairy if I can avoid it. I mean, even if I take a few turns setting up, I'm not too mad about that, but this is definitely an unfavored matchup. They've got a very heavy Toucan in line, which is interesting. I mean, at least to fill their board up, and they do have this Fan Rotom, which I need to be concerned about. Yeah, I'm not confident in this matchup at all, especially since he's just gone straight up with the Telepathic. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Because obviously I can't Telepathic to a Grookey, it has to be to a Psychic Pokemon, so... And I really, really don't want to bench this. Like, I don't want to bench the Clefairy. But I may not have a choice. Alright, let's see what we got for the top. There's a Thwackey. Okay, that's actually alright to see. Well, I definitely need to play the Hilda here to grab a Telepathic. I'll take a Slowbro as well. I'm going to have to bench the Clefairy and Telepathic to it, which is really terrible, but I don't have much of a choice here. Because it's highly likely he's going to take out this Grookey this turn, which is a shame. We've also priced 2 Swirlix, which is really bad, because they could just focus those down if they wanted to. I think I just grabbed double Slowpoke. If needed, I can, you know, go for, I can do something, but I can't really do much here. I mean, I can attack with Clefairy, but attacking with Clefairy just feels so bad. I can use Ignition on the Clefairy, it will count for a colorless, but it's putting a 2-prizer down when I need to keep, ideally, single prize in this matchup. And will they have a lot more... Well, they need draw, we don't, but, you know, it's kind of bad. I've kind of got to hope that, you know, I can get this Grookey out of the active without needing to do anything else. I don't really want to, you know, leave this Grookey in the active, but I don't really have a choice here. I mean, can I thin this hand down? No, if he takes out this Grookey, it's kind of bad. That I will say. I can in fact, no, I'd need to Ignition to get Thwackey out the active, so... I'm not sure how I feel about this matchup. It feels very much shaky, that's for sure. He's going with the 10 from Abra. Okay. The Poké Pad is actually good, because we can go into a Swirlix. I'm happy with that. It's just they'll take out the Swirlix is the only issue. Because now I can go attach to the Thwackey, retreat it into a Swirlix, and then I can boom and boo for something. The question is, what do I want? Because I can Boom Boom Groove. I can go, because he's going to give me a Dunsparce, so that's fine. I can Boom Boom Groove. I don't really want to get rid of anything, that's the issue. See, with Prize and 2 Swirlix, this makes this job, like this decision, very tricky. Do I just take Academy at Night? Because then I can put Hilda on the top of the deck in case anything happens. Yeah, I think Academy at Night is my choice here. So I'll go Academy at Night. I'm not going to use the Hilda now. I can play this to thin it, but then again, no. I might... no. I'll play it, and then end my turn. Because I don't need Gladion to take out an Alakazam. Because even if we had a card in our hand, you know, that sort of thing, there's Battle Cage. He's definitely going to get the first attack off, and that's what's going to make this very awkward. Because Swirlix is our only way to actually do anything here. He's got the Toucannon. Like I said, this matchup just feels so shocking because, you know, they have consistent attackers. They're obviously playing the Toucannon now, and I've had to put down a 2-prizer. They're definitely going to take the first prize card here. Unless they somehow don't see that they can use Telepathic on a Toucannon, we're not really doing a lot here. Alright, well, we've just got to hope now, because they're going to be a prize up on us. Yeah, this matchup just feels shocking, I'll be honest. It feels really bad for Slow. I mean, a lot of matchups will feel bad for Slowbro, I'll be honest, but, you know, this, you know, with the amount of single prize decks I keep running into, it makes things very tricky. Very tricky. Has he whiffed? Because if he has, I'm going to take advantage of that. Poké Pad. For a Kadabra. I think he's still trying to find an energy. He's got none in there. He's only got 1 accounted for. So he's still got at least 5 energy. At the very least. 4 telepathic total and then 2 psychic. He's got the energy. Okay. That makes things very awkward then. I'm not sure how to feel about this. I'll be brutally honest. And with that Feather Rondo doing 240 right now, Clefairy has a huge target on its back. But of course, we did put that Hilda on top of the deck. So we'll go for the Hilda. We'll grab a Slowbro. In fact, I can just choose to not grab one, and I probably will, because I don't have an evolution to take advantage of. So I'll just take the Telepathic. So we'll Telepathic to the Slowbro. We can then grab 2 more Slowpokes. And all out for 210. I don't think we win this matchup because, well, this is a shocking matchup, but I might as well try and play it out. There's a boss, which is not going to be helpful because they have Alakazams. And, well, unless we top deck an energy or a way to, you know, find something, you know, it's going to be tricky. But this matchup, anyway, I don't think we win. It's a tricky one. But yeah, I will say it's a tricky matchup because, like I say, we have to constantly keep Slowbros going. They have Rare Candy, they can just jump into their attackers, and obviously now they have the new Toucannon as an attacker, which just makes things even more tricky. And there we go, there's another Toucannon. I just don't think we win this matchup. I'll see what I get off the top, because obviously I can promote Clefairy to retreat this Telepathic. Excuse me. I took an A-fever tablet today, and I'm regretting it. Excuse me. I don't know if you've heard that sneeze over the mic, but yeah, I forgot to take an A-fever tablet today, and I'm paying the price. It's okay. I mean, I've had worse. But yeah, having hay fever this time of year just sucks. Apparently we're doing another heat wave soon as well. Excuse me. Oh. I don't even know how I'm getting pollen in my room. Because I've got nothing in terms of, like, you know, windows open or anything. So, you know, Did he play Dawn for turn? Yeah, he did. He's just setting up his board. At least he's not slow playing, you know. He's thinking about his actions, you know. He's taking time with his turn. He's not being like one of the Alakazam players I ran into earlier. But yeah, that's 260 on the Slowbro. Down he goes. And I have to promote Clefairy because it's my only way to retreat. Let's see what we get. Anything good? That is a Psychic Energy, and I can boss that Tunen. So, yeah. We'll do it. Go into the Slowbro. Attach. Boss the Toucanon. And all out for 210. We can't keep this up much longer, though. That's the only problem. And that's what makes this archetype so awkward, especially against another single prize archetype. This card is infinitely better into the 2 prize archetypes, but, you know, with us prizing 2 Swirlix, we just can't do much here. I mean, already Swirlix is dead and has been sent to the Shadow Realm. So, you know, at least we've got to take a couple of prizes, but yeah, this matchup is cooked. If you can boss the Clefairy this turn, that's pretty much curtains. Because I can play this Poffin, but like I say, he's taking out a 2 prizer. His best option though is to just go for the Slowbro. Like, he can go for Clefairy if he wants, but it's actually better to go for the Slowbro because you don't know what to go for the prize cards. I'm relying on top decks pretty much exclusively. I think Pokegears might have to go in this list in case you can't get like Boom and Groove established. But yeah, is he counting cards in hand? You really don't have to. You just need 7. Basic maths. But hey, people don't get taught their times tables these days. I can remember when, back in my school days, if you didn't know, at least I think it was your 12 times table they wanted you to learn. Yeah, you didn't, you know, they just had to, oh, what was it? Yeah, we just lose here, but that's, yeah, that is a shocking matchup, and we will probably never win that matchup, but still, there's a lot of Alakazam Toucan running around the ladder right now. Yeah, this deck just can't beat it. We just don't have enough tempo. Anywho, let's go to game 3. And welcome back to game 3. Rather unfortunate we lost there to Alakazam, but I think this deck will just struggle into the 2, like the single prizes anyway because of the tempo. You know, Alakazam, Festival Lead, Delmise will clean this deck's clock. You know, that the single prize archetypes are what this deck wants to avoid. But, you know, it's unfortunate. Plus, like I said, we've not really been able to establish our Festival Lead engine. We've not been able to, so it's quite unfortunate. But, hey-ho, it could be worse, I guess. Starting the Slowpoke, that's not too bad. Double Academy at night, though, is a bit concerning. Hide and Sneak. Okay, I can live with that. That does have 3 retreats, so that's at least something. This is going to be tough, though, because like I say, we need a stage 1 attacker. They're going to go straight into the Delmise. Sure. You're very confident at getting 4 in the discard pile that early. Because if you don't, you're doing 30 damage. Okay, sure. Whatever floats your boat at night, I guess. Let's go for a Hilda. We'll grab ourselves Telepathic and a Slowbro. I'll prize check once we use the Telepathic. So we'll Telepathic to the Slowpoke. We'll grab you. We'll just grab double Slowpoke. I can grab Swirlixes later. We've actually got all the Swirlixes this time, but we have prized a Thwackey and a Grookey, so prizing's not looking too great, I'll be honest. What about our Slowbros? I've prized 2 Slowbros. That, again, is an issue. This is probably going to be a tough matchup then. I've also prized a Telepathic Energy. Okay, this is going to get ugly then, but there's not much I can do about it. Do I want to thin this hand down any further? Not particularly. I can wait. I can wait. Because I have to think. So like I said, I can Ultra Ball away a Thwackey and the Academy at night. I can then Ultra Ball plus my top deck to potentially thin the hand down. But yeah, they shouldn't have brought the Delmise up. If they don't have the facility to actually like attack with it this turn, they really shouldn't have brought up the Delmise. and they're benching the Pokemon. They shouldn't be benching it. You need to discard it. I mean, if you're going to give me some free prize cards, I'll take it, you know? But we won't be able to use Zen Headbutt. And yeah, he's just got a Vengeful Anchor for 30. Quite unfortunate for my opponent. The Poké Pad off the top is excellent, because I can grab a second Slowbro. So we need to work on thinning this hand down. But that shouldn't be too difficult. Because I can Ultra Ball this and this. In fact, no, I would need Ultra Ball away you, and then I can double Ultra Ball. I can Ultra Ball away the 2 Academy and Knights. So, let's Ultra Ball these 2. But then again, I can Cassiopeia and grab stuff. But then again, no. I know what I'm going to do here. I've got it in my head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a Thwackey. In fact, I can grab the Shaymin, actually, because we're not going to need this in this matchup. And then I can Ultra Ball away the Shaymin and the Academy, and then I can Cassiopeia for whatever I want. See, this deck is complicated, but once you, like, learn it a little bit, it's not too bad. I can grab a Slowpoke, actually. So we'll bench that. We can then Cassiopeia. We'll grab Swirlix. And, because obviously we're playing support for turns, we don't want to grab anything else. I can actually grab Buddy-Buddy Poffin. And I can grab... What else do I want? I can, because there's no point in me grabbing Poké Pad. I can grab an Air Balloon, actually. Air Balloon's pretty good. Because then I can go Buddy Poffin, grab a Grookey and a Swirlix. And then I can Air Balloon the Swirlix, and then All Out for 210. That is complicated, but, you know, I'm enjoying this archetype, you know. I like the idea of it. I think there was another card that had the all-out attack, wasn't there? I don't remember the name of it, but there was another there was another Pokemon that had this attack. I don't remember it, so if it's in, you know, if you remember it, put it in the comments below. But I never got to play it. He's going to boss my Grookey. Okay. We got the Slowbro out the prize cards, which is good. Oh, is he going for Matcha Spin? But you've only got one in the discard, and it's not even a hide and sneak Pokemon. Well, that's good to see. We get the attachment. We can retreat into the Slowbro. You should have just bossed the Slowbro. Well, a Slowpoke, sorry. Down goes Sinister. I'll take that. We'll take a prize card. There's Thwackey. Excellent. We can establish the Boom Boom Groove engine. Is he just giving me these to, like, knock out so he can get enough in the discard pile? Because if so, that's a very dumb move. Especially against a single prize archetype. I think that's what he's doing, folks, and it's not a very clever idea, is all I'll say. So, I can Hilda. I don't need to grab anything here. And plus, we can actually use Zen Headbutt, which is, you know, a G move. But, no, I want to establish another attacker, so, yeah. We can do the funny play with Zen Headbutt later, don't worry. If it comes up, of course. We can do it later, so don't worry about that. I really want to do that now, though, because I really want to use Zen Headbutt. Because obviously, Ignition Energy discards itself at the end of the turn, so that's why I want to get, you know, consistent attachments. That's kind of why I want to do it. So he's got 3 in the discard pile now. What is this guy doing? Is he giving me a free win or something? Okay, now we're definitely going for the Ignition Energy play. So first of all, I'll put that down. Then we will Hilda for a Ignition Energy. And then we can use the Ignition Energy to Zen Headbutt for dominance. I've got to do it at least once. It's why the Ignition's in the list. Like, you know, give me some credit for that. The Slowbro out the prize cards is excellent as well. But yeah, either this is a very bad bot, or my opponent just doesn't understand how Delmaz works. I don't know. And yeah, they're just going to scoop it up. The Zen Headbutt clearly scared them off. I'll take that. Not bad at all. I really do like this archetype. It's an interesting one, that's for sure. Let's go to game 4. And welcome back to game 4. We even got to use Zen Headbutt, which I do love to use the meme attacks. Well, I say meme attack, it's in there for a logical reason, you know. Because like I say, you're not always going to have your hand thinned down for the purpose of Slowbro. So it makes complete sense to, you know, have it as, you know, a potential archetype answer. And we do start a Slowpoke, which is always good to see. I love Slowpoke as a Pokemon, it's just so dumb. And looks like we're facing Beedrill. But is it the LDF version that came out literally 2 days ago? Well, yes, it was yesterday before the set dropped. As of time of recording, that is. Is he playing the Dust Noirs? Because if he is, we're going to need Psyduck. We shouldn't need Gladion's final battle, neither. Ooh, the triple Hilda I don't like. Okay. Well, we can at least, you know, we can use All Out for just 50 damage and knock this out, so I'm happy to do so. So I'm going to get rid of Hilda and a Gladion, but then again, Gladion I can burn. I can't really burn a Hilda. I'm going to get rid of the Hilda, I think. No. I don't trust that, to be brutally honest. We prize a Slowpoke. Well, 2 Slowpokes, in fact. No, 1 Slowpoke. We've got the Slowbro in hand, so that's fine. Psyduck's in the deck in case it is the variant I'm thinking it is. I think I just grab another Slowpoke. I don't really have a reason to do anything else. But then again, no, because Swirlix is irrelevant here. But no, Swirlix isn't irrelevant. If I grab Swirlix, I can then Festival Lead, I can do that stuff, but then, no. I'll just take a Slowpoke. And I'll pass. I don't need to do anything else right now. The only problem is we won't be able to thin this hand down enough to actually do anything. And against this matchup, we do need to be taking some prize cards early. There's Forest. And a Lillie. I really hope this isn't the Dust Noir version, because I really don't want to deal with Dust Noirs. There's a Dunsparce. I think his version did play Duns in it, if I remember rightly. Problem is, when you're remembering all these deck lists, it can be quite tricky to, you know, remember every single little detail. There's a Relor. That's fine. Another 50 HP Pokemon we can just bonk with the attack, which is good. Is he going to go for a surprise attack for 30, which technically is relevant. Because if he wisps on bees, and he does nothing, that's fine. That is completely fine. Because like I said, we could just knock this out with the first attack anyway. So that's pretty good to see. So then I can actually just play the Hilda and I can go for a Telepathic. Because then I can keep the second Hilda for the turn afterwards. There's a lot to think about when it comes to this archetype, I will say. But, like, I don't mind that. So we'll just grab a Swirlix and a Slowpoke. We'll then Air Balloon you, and All Out for 50. Rather convenient. The problem is going to be the bees, because we can't really, like, scale into the bees that well. We'd need to, like, go another knockout on, like, a 50 or, you know, a weak Pokemon. And then we can go from there. The Grookey off the top, though, is really good, because obviously we can establish our engine. Well, I say engine, it's not really an engine, but... It's interesting they're, like, focusing on establishing Ravscut. Are they really that afraid of the sneaky placement? They really shouldn't be, is all I'll say. Because I'm never using that attack. That's not why it's in the deck list. But at least we can get a swing in with the Slowbro, at the very least. We can take, you know, we can put some damage on the bees. We need to take out 2 bees, though, and it's going to be very tricky. Taking out 2 bees is going to be very intense on resources. Assuming, of course, we don't have to bench a Clefairy, because there is a chance we might have to. If, you know, push comes to shove. But no, this is a really interesting little archetype. I do like this archetype. I don't think it's going to be like a top tier deck, because, you know, it's very awkward. You have no draw, really. You know, you're relying a lot on Hilda, which, fair enough, Hilda's a great card, but, you know, you're not really benefiting in any way. I would like to bump their Forest at some point, though, like start putting pressure on their stadiums. There goes red card. But why, like I said, why are you putting Ravscar into play? That's just a waste of a bench space. You know, I'm not going to use this attack. And it's just going to give me a free prize card. I'll take it. There's a Swirlix, so that's good. We can bench that. Then we can Hilda for... I'll I'll just take a normal Psychic Energy and I'll just take a Slowbro. So that's fine. So I'll do that. Attach here. And all out for 210. Again, not doing the Zen Headbutt play. I need another energy down. So that's why I'm doing it. There's our Slowpoke at the prize cards. Excellent. They're really whiffing, which is good for us, because like I said, we are going to struggle in this matchup for resources. So, you know, I'm glad that they're kind of whiffing. They're going to see 11 cards, though. Assuming they don't have any other draw away that isn't, you know, a supporter-based. There's Poké Pad, probably for a Kakuna. Yep, there it is. That means they definitely have the B in hand. Another Poké Pad. For another Kakuna. They must have at least 2 Bs then, because they need 2 Bs to knock out my Slowbro. There's Kakuna, Kakuna. Runaway draw. Because you need 2 Bs to knock out my Slowbro. You need 2 Bs. And if you do not have 2 Bs, you are giving me a free prize card, which I will most definitely take. Although I say free, I've got a Slowpoke in hand. I need a way to get rid of this. Oh, never mind. I'll just pass the Weedle. All out for 50. Easy. So now we just have to deal with 1 B, which is so much better. There's another boss. I actually kind of need you to take a knockout now, Chief. But no, this has been going really well. The fact that they're whiffing so much is really good for us. And like I said, even if I can't get down this hand and they bench another Weedle, I'll just boss it. I don't really care. Because then that means I only have to go through, you know, 1 B drill, which I'm more than happy to. But yeah, this has been going pretty well. The fact that the Weedles have 50 HP is very beneficial. Because like I said, we can't play down this Slowpoke right now. But you think we'd have been a turn attachment behind, which could matter in the long run and everything like that. So, you know, not going for the Zen Headbutt play does make sense. I think it's safe to say my opponent may have rage quit because they are doing 0 actions. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say my opponent has gotten very mad about the situation. And yep, that's just a pass. That is just a pass. That is a Night Stretcher, which I cannot play. I could boss the Rabsca, because I'm only doing 30 to this, because it's minus 20 because of Exoskeleton. Although, is that 30 relevant? It is. But did we get rid of Gladion? Yeah, we did. Okay. I'll boss the Rabsca. I'll just do 50 to it. I think that's fine, because then we're forcing an energy out of them, plus double B. I think this is okay. Because obviously I can't knock out this Kakuna. That's the thing. I can't, because my hand is full of dead stuff. I can't thin my hand down. Well, I say it's dead. It won't be once I, you know, take this knockout here, but, you know, well, when they eventually do knock me out. But at the minute, they're just not doing anything, so they're actually giving us a huge advantage here. Which I'm fine with, you know? Your Weedles are just tasty food for my Slowbro. It's as simple as that. We've not even established Thwackey this whole game. We haven't needed to. And we've used 2 boss and 3 Hildas. Obviously, we discarded a Hilda earlier, but no, this has gone really well for us. The fact that we only need to go through a B now if he can't get this Rabsca at the active, or if, you know, he's rage quit. And I'm assuming he has rage quit at this point. There's a Hilda. I can play that to thin, so we can grab Thwackey plus Ignition, because I am going to do the Ignition play. Because it's 1 less card for me to have to worry about. So we will attach Ignition Energy, and we will Zen Headbutt for 110 and take out the Rabsca. Because, well, I put these in the deck for a reason. I'm not just going to let them sit there, am I? There's Telepathic at the prize cards. Excellent. I think it's safe to say our opponent is done and dusted. But no, Ignition just made the most sense. I think the pre-release kit of this card actually came with Ignition. I don't actually know. I never went to a pre-release. I was going to, but didn't get time in the end. Because I'd rather spend time with my sister, because I don't get to see her very much, than go to a pre-release. Because she didn't have time to go to the pre-release. But yeah, I think it's safe to say my opponent has rage quit. If he has, I'll see you in the outro. And yep, my opponent has most definitely scooped. I'm not surprised. Well, it said inactive for too long. And to be fair, I don't blame him, you know. The immediate pressure we was able to put on, you know, the overall ability in which we had in that matchup, you know, we got ourselves down to the point where we just needed to take out a B plus something else sitting on his bench. And, well, we got to Zen Headbutt in this video, so I'm happy with that. So, what did I think to the deck? You know what? To say I thought I was going to hate this deck at first, I'm really happy with it, you know? This deck feels really fun to play. I will say, because this just needs to be said, this deck is not going to be dominating NAIC, EUIC, etc. anytime soon. But this is a really fun deck. It really tests your sequencing, if that makes sense. So, like, you know, as a player, you have to think, oh, do I need to take this evolution Pokemon? Do I need to take just an evolution, just an energy, you know, that sort of thing? And that's what this deck really tests you on, and I do like that. Because obviously, I believe there was another all-out archetype. I don't remember the type, all of the Pokemon that it was. But, you know, Psychic typing is really good to have right now, so that's one plus point to have, you know. It's relatively easy to keep this archetype going in the grand scheme of things, because obviously you only need one energy, and, you know, with these Swirlix, you can obviously get them down with Telepathic. You know, the Thwackeys are nice. You know, the only thing that I would probably say I'd want in this archetype is easier ways of finding the Pokemon that we need. I don't think Prime Catcher is the answer for the A spec. I would actually argue that maybe something like Hyper Aroma or Precious Trolley would be something a bit better, because then it means we can cut down on the, you know, the Buddy Poffins, we can keep the Ultra Balls at a max count, you know, that sort of thing. But, you know, having ways to discard our Pokemon and, you know, other cards and things like that is good. But there was a lot of times where I was playing cards just for the sake of them, and they were pretty dead in that grand scheme of things. So I think if we went to maybe a Trolley build or a Hyper Aroma build, and just had, you know, a little bit more access to the stage 1s, the basics, you know, that sort of thing. Because at the minute, it just feels like I'm not finding Thwackeys and, you know, Grookeys and stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't help that we prized, you know, 2 of them in one of the games, but, you know, it's an interesting one, I will say. But honestly, I've had an absolute blast playing this deck list. I'll probably keep it around for the future. But anyway, that's going to be it for today from All Out Slowbro. And, well, I've really had a good time with this deck, and I highly recommend giving this deck a go. See you all on the next one.